Should you buy the full release of Le Mans Ultimate? The big question, especially if you're on iRacing, if you're on GT7, is it coming to console? Should you get it on PC? What about VR? I'm going to answer all these questions because breaking news, Le Mans Ultimate is launching in full. Version 1.0 is coming out of early access. No longer all this kind of like beta stuff. July 22nd, you will be able to buy Le Mans Ultimate in full. Now, I bought the early access Le Mans Ultimate with my own money on launch over a year ago, and as the video showed, I didn't really enjoy it that much. It was too buggy, it took forever to load. On the 4090 it was struggling, but I just did a race in Le Mans Ultimate in the Peugeot, and it was incredible. So should you buy this game? Well, there are lots of controversial questions I have about monetization that I don't think anyone else is asking. I've got to be honest, but I'm going to say it. I don't understand how they've been able to do early access and charge for all this DLC. I feel like I paid in early access to support the game. I would have liked to have got the DLC included. How they're going to wrap it up and the price point for the full release, we will see on July 22nd, but that is not going to include console. They say console is going to come a lot later, maybe a year later. Now, when this game does come to console, if it comes to console, if it can be locked 60 FPS on Xbox Series X and PS5, I think it's going to be a great sim racing game on console that's going to eat a bit of Gran Turismo's lunch. And it's going to be, when people say, what's the best sim on console? I might say Le Mans Ultimate, but we have to see what happens. So what's coming on July 22nd? So the version 1.0 release, 2 free cars, one of which is the Valkyrie. And I just saw a Valkyrie in real life when I was at the Gran Turismo World Series finals. Incredible car. That's not even the hypercar variant. So the hypercar variant's coming for free, and the Mercedes AMG GT3 is coming for free, which is great as well. More stuff coming, including tracks, but I don't really like how it's piecemealed with the cars and the tracks. I'd kind of actually prefer either, this is going to sound really weird, I'd prefer either it's all included or it's all charged for. I feel like when the Mustang was free, I was like, oh, well, put us all in the Mustang because I don't want to buy the DLC for £12. So, but anyway, they throw in a sprinkling of 3 free cars, and then you have the DLC cars and tracks as well. Now, speaking of tracks, ELMES is coming, European Le Mans Series, and that is where they do endurance racing, kind of like in the WEC like off season, I think, but they have like LMP2s in there. A lot of great drivers in ELMS, including drivers I've spoken with a lot. That's coming. The interesting thing about that is that this year has Silverstone. So I have checked, and Le Mans Ultimate have said Silverstone is coming to Le Mans Ultimate, and Paul Ricard. I don't care about Paul Ricard. Like, honestly, if they didn't bring that, I wouldn't even care. But Barcelona's coming as well. Silverstone and Barcelona are 2 of my favourite tracks. They're coming courtesy of European Le Mans Series. Also LMP3, so if you want to be a dentist, you can be there. The official liveries and all that kind of stuff, and a ELMS tweaked LMP2, which is like the spec series. I think it is tweaked a little bit higher in European Le Mans Series. Also free for all players are going to be the 2025 official liveries. They say consider it a thank you to those supporting us through the early access journey. I don't agree with that. Always, look, if you're a fan of this channel, you know I'm always going to be honest with you. Don't say the liveries are a thank you to us. You have the liveries because you're required probably to do it under your license, and you're advertising the Ferraris and the Toyotas and the Peugeots and the Alpines, and it wouldn't be acceptable to run the old liveries, I think. So saying they say consider it a thank you, I'm not really too sure about that. But okay, we're going to have I do like that we have the latest liveries, and we're going to have the Valkyrie. Hopefully it's going to sound amazing, and the AMG as well. And also there is going to be more stuff coming in the full release. So I've seen screenshots of this. Single player career mode, currently in early production. This is getting confusing. So remember, the question is, should you buy Le Mans Ultimate in full release? Well, actually, there's still stuff happening. So the point at which they say 1.0 seems a bit arbitrary. Career mode's in early production. They say this immersive new mode will let players step in the shoes of an endurance driver, take on team roles, climb the ranks, and experience career-impacting choices based on race results. Sound like corporate speak to me. Driver swaps will always play a key role. Will also play a key role. That's quite interesting. However, the screenshots I've seen, my feedback would be the choices look quite basic and sort of chat GPT-esque. So hopefully it's going to be a bit more subtle and meaningful, especially as they have great drivers licensed in Le Mans Ultimate. I think it has the best roster of licensed drivers for me. In terms of the drivers I've interviewed in real life, so many of them are present in Le Mans Ultimate. So hopefully they can make that a bit more in depth. They say they're aiming to release that career mode in Q1 2026. Let's add a delay on it because it'll probably be delayed. So that's about a year away, frankly, I would say. And they'll be sharing more in the months ahead on that. So they've also updated the time model in GT3. I was driving the Peugeot Hypercar and really enjoying it. It works a little bit better for me now. It's still not great. It's still not iRacing. iRacing, I hit play and it kind of pops up on my monitor and I'm always good to go. Le Mans Ultimate is a bit fussy. Sometimes the force feedback doesn't work for me. I had issues with the force feedback on the THRUSTMASTER, on the Moser sometimes, but if I restart, it comes in. But it's not like the most smooth experience. It's a little bit rough, but when you're in there and you're in the sim and it's 60 FPS at least, it looks incredible. I think it looks better than iRacing. Okay, what about console? There's no news about console here, but they've said elsewhere that that's more than a year away. You know, I just hope they can kind of keep going and get a good console version out. If they do console at something like 30 FPS, that's going to be pants. I've been trying Endurance Motorsport Series, which is the endurance game coming from Nacon, which is really interesting because you can actually do proper, well, you can do a lot of management there. It's not the most in-depth management, but you can do management and actually be on the pit wall physically, and you can also drive, but the sim is not as good a sim as in Le Mans Ultimate. So if Le Mans Ultimate can nail this, the other thing I want to mention is a lot of features are getting locked behind subscription. So for example, driver swaps, I think, are basically locked behind Race Control Pro, their subscription. So they're asking people to shell out a lot of money. However, I think they can justify that now. I think going into version 1.0, I think they can justify asking for money and people can make their own decisions about whether they want to buy it. I will always be a little bit kind of disappointed that having supported this game in early access, I've been asked to shell out more and more for new cars and tracks. And I wonder if they'll do something down the line to recognise those of us that did commit in early access and not refund it. There was a big wave of refunding that I covered on the channel. So this is the big news. Let me know in the comments if you are thinking of picking up Le Mans Ultimate. I'll have a link below to where you can pick it up. And yeah, it's coming out in version 1.0. I'm going to be on it quite a lot.